Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Justin Haskins Show. It's been a while. I've been gone for a little while. Things have been incredibly busy, lots of exciting things. I'm going to fill you in another episode. But today I want to do a short episode talking about a really controversial topic. Can Donald Trump be president for a third term? My argument is going to be legally, yes, with the laws on the books right now, there is a way for Donald Trump to be president for a third term. Now, I'm not saying he should be. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea, actually. And a lot of people are going to accuse me otherwise of promoting otherwise. But the truth is, I don't think it's a good idea. But is it legal? Is there a legal way, a legal path for Donald Trump to be president for a third term? That's going to be the discussion today on the episode of the show. Before we get into that, though, a quick call to action. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. All of these things are going to help more people see content like this. It's still a relatively new channel, still growing with new subscribers. So please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. All of these things are going to help break through big tech algorithms that hold content like this back and allow more people to see important episodes like this. All right, so let's dive straight into it. First of all, why are we talking about this? Why are we even thinking about Donald Trump potentially being president for a third term? Well, there's some huge Trump supporters, including guys like Steve Bannon, who have been openly saying repeatedly, hey, Donald Trump's going to serve a third term. There's a lot of people who are opposed to Donald Trump, big-time Trump opponents, who have been saying, hey, I think Donald Trump's going to try to be president for a third term. He's a dictator. He's terrible. He's the worst person ever. And of course, he's going to try to hold on to that power. And in all of this is this Steve Bannon, on the pro-Trump side, has alluded to some sort of secret legal way, potentially, that this could happen. People on the left essentially act like there really is no legal way that it could happen. And if he is president for a third term, it's going to be through a completely illegal, unconstitutional way, perhaps by seizing the government with help of the military, or I've heard all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories about this. And so I just think it's a really interesting topic. I don't know if Donald Trump's going to do this or not. I know people who know Donald Trump. I don't know him personally, but I know people who know him who have suggested that, no, I don't think that's likely. I've heard other people who've told me, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could happen. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do want to talk a little bit about the legality of it, because I actually do think there's a really clear answer about the question of whether any president, not just Donald Trump, but any president could become president for a third term. Now, on the surface, it's going to seem like, no, that seems totally impossible. Isn't some part of the Constitution forbid that from happening? In a way, yes, but in another way, no. And that's what we're going to dive into. So first, I want to pull up the text of the 22nd Amendment, because this is going to be the thing that most people are going to point to. The 22nd Amendment was passed in the wake of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who famously won 4 terms as president. And after Franklin Roosevelt died, Congress said, we don't want this. We don't want presidents for more than 2 terms. So we're going to pass an amendment to the Constitution that says a president cannot be elected to the office of president more than twice. That's exactly what the text says here in the 22nd Amendment, Section 1. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by the Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. Okay, so what I want you to pay special attention to here is the language of the text. Remember, the language is key here. We're talking about the law. We're not talking about the intent of the law. We're talking about what the text of the law actually says. The intent of the law seems to be We don't want to have presidents for more than 2 terms, even in cases where they were only elected to 1 term and then inherited the office for part of another president's term. Okay, we don't want a person to be elected more than twice, right? But the term here, the text of that's used in the 22nd Amendment is clearly elected. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Now, normally, most presidents become presidents by being elected, but there are ways of being president without being elected. Now, the one that everyone is most familiar with is if a person is elected president or is made president through as vice president through succession. So you have a president of the United States, and maybe the president of the United States is impeached and then removed, or maybe the president dies while in office, and you end up with someone becoming president through succession as vice president. And some people have said, okay, well, this is how this would work. This is Donald Trump would be vice president, and they would just reverse the ticket next time around. So JD Vance runs for president, Donald Trump runs for vice president, and everybody just knows that if you vote for JD Vance, he's going to step down, and Donald Trump will then succeed into the office. And that's the way that this would all happen. But that's not true. That can't be the way that it works, because there are other parts of the equation. Here, let me try to pull that up. There are other parts of the Constitution that would make that impossible to occur. All right, so let me find the specific example for you. Okay, so this is from the 12th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, this has to do with vice presidents. So now we're talking about vice presidents, right? 12th Amendment, at the very end, it's talking about how you become vice president, because the original way that you would become vice president under the Constitution before the 12th Amendment was different than following the 12th Amendment. So here, what they have is at the very end of the 12th Amendment, it says, but no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. So the way that most people understand this text is to say, if you can't be elected president, then you can't be elected vice president. Because in order to be vice president, you have to be eligible to be elected president. Now, let's just assume that interpretation of the text is true. And I think that's a fair interpretation of the text. What this does is it rules out the possibility that Donald Trump could be president for a 3rd term by becoming vice president first. That doesn't seem like a possibility. But what most people leave out is that there are other ways to succeed into the office of president. And this is, I believe, the loophole that will allow Donald Trump potentially, it could, at least in theory, allow Donald Trump to be president for a 3rd term. All right. So here's what I want to do. Let's just dive into this real quick. I think that this is really important for people to understand. Most people have no idea how presidential succession works. Congress has the authority to set presidential succession beyond vice president. So if the vice president and president die at the same time, for example, like if a nuclear bomb goes off or it's a war or something, and the president and vice president both die, Congress has the authority under the Constitution to decide who the president's going to be. And they've passed a law that went into effect in 1947 that lists out presidential succession. And this is how it works. You have president, then you have vice president. If both of them are ineligible for whatever reason, they both die, they both leave office at the same time, whatever, then the next person in order is Speaker of the House. Then after Speaker of the House, it's President of the Senate, not the vice president, the other president of the Senate. Then you have the Secretary of State after that, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, and it goes on and on and on through the cabinet positions. This is the line of succession. It's been in place since 1947. It's the same line of succession we've had now for over a half century. So, theoretically, it's possible that Donald Trump could be president if you had a president and a vice president, and they both leave office at the same time or somehow in order, and it falls to the next person in line, and Donald Trump's the next person in line. So that would mean Donald Trump would have to be another person in line in this line of succession. So he would have to either be Speaker of the House or President of the Senate or Secretary of State or Secretary of the Treasury or Secretary of Defense or something along those lines. Now, the problem with that is, in order for him to be Speaker of the House or President of the Senate, he would have to be this is how most people think of it, he would have to be elected to Congress, right? So is Donald Trump going to run for the House of Representatives in the next election instead of running for president? It seems sort of out there and kind of unlikely. Is Donald Trump going to run for Senate? That seems kind of unlikely. Is he going to run? Is he going to be Secretary of State? Now, maybe you could say, okay, he's going to be named Secretary of State or Secretary of the Treasury or Secretary of Defense or something like that. And then confirmed, he would have to be confirmed by the Senate after. So a president would have to win, a president and vice president win the election. Then Donald Trump is appointed to be Secretary of Defense or something like that, Secretary of War. And then he is then through succession, you would have to have at that point, the president, the vice president, and the Speaker of the House all step down. And then he would then come into office through a cabinet level position. But in order to be named to a cabinet, he has to be approved by the Senate. And the Senate would probably know that this is the scheme that's going on. And they probably wouldn't approve him to be in a cabinet level position because they know that something like this is going on, right? So it seems unlikely that would happen. He probably wouldn't be president of the Senate because I think to be president of the Senate, I'm not 100% sure, but I think to be president of the Senate, you actually have to be a member of the Senate. So is he going to run for Senate in the next election? No, probably not. So that seems unlikely too. So how could this possibly happen? It's all about the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is the way that this is the key to understanding this whole thing. The big misconception that everybody gets wrong about Speaker of the House is that you don't actually need to be a member of the House of Representatives to be a Speaker of the House. That surprises a lot of people, but that's what the Constitution plainly says. It says here, this is from Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5. Article 1 is the part of the Constitution dealing with Congress. It says, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers. It doesn't say anything else. It doesn't say what the qualifications for Speaker is or the other officers. It doesn't say that it has to be a member of the House or a former member of the House. There are no constitutional qualifications. There's nothing about age, nothing about citizenship status, nothing about anything. There's literally no prohibitions on who could be Speaker of the House. It could be anybody. The only thing the Constitution really says about the Speaker of the House is that the House has to choose one. So, theoretically, we apply all of this stuff together. The 12th Amendment, the 22nd Amendment, the Presidential Succession Act, and the Article 1 clause about Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5 about the qualifications for Speaker. This is what you end up with. Here's a potential scenario where Donald Trump could be president, completely legally for a third term. A president and a vice president are elected. with the idea that this wouldn't be necessary. They wouldn't have to have this idea. They could secretly do this, but I think maybe the way this would work is they would openly tell people this is the plan. The president and the vice president are elected with the banner of Donald Trump's going to be made president if you elect us. They are elected. Congress comes into session. When they come into session in January, this would be in January 2029, they would name their Speaker of the House. They, by a simple majority, choose Donald Trump to be Speaker of the House, even though he's not a member of the House. Then the vice president, whoever that is, let's say it's Marco Rubio, steps down. JD Vance, let's say he's president, he steps down. Doesn't matter who the president and vice president are, but they both step down. And when they both step down, if there is a Speaker of the House sitting there and it's Donald Trump would then assume the office. So by being named Speaker of the House, Donald Trump can become president through the Presidential Succession Act, which does not prohibit someone from becoming president through succession if they are ineligible of being elected as president. And again, going back to the 22nd Amendment, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. It says nothing about a person becoming president through succession. So is it legally possible for Donald Trump to be president of the United States for a third term? Yes. All that has to happen is he becomes Speaker of the House. Whoever the president and vice president are step down, and Donald Trump, without having been elected to Congress, but named Speaker of the House by simple majority, comes into power as president for a third term. So is this a good thing? I mean, if you really love Donald Trump and you want him to be president for a third term, you might think it's a good thing. I personally think this would be a catastrophe for the country, because I really believe that the average person, especially on the left, would feel like this is through, basically through trickery and through legal loopholes. You've made somebody president for a third term when they're not supposed to be president. I think this would open the door to potential impeachment or stuff like that down the road. But so I think it would be a catastrophe for the country. I think we need to move on to a new president after this. I don't think we should have presidents for more than 2 terms. But is it legally possible? Yes. Does it require Donald Trump to be a dictator? No. Does it require some sort of military coup? No. Legally, there is a path forward. It's just a matter of whether this is what people want to happen, whether this is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea, but is it legally possible? Yes. And this might seem like, well, why are we even talking about this? Who cares? Well, we're talking about it because although I don't think it's likely that this will happen, I do think it's possible that it could happen. Donald Trump is the most unconventional politician in modern American history, maybe in all of American history. It's clear that he thinks that he's been badly mistreated in the past. And do I think that he would be willing to, not even bend the rules, because these are the rules. I mean, it is a loophole, but it is clearly within the bounds, I think, of if you take a strict literalist reading of the text, it is allowed to do it this way. So do I think that he would take advantage of that if he really thought he could be president for a third term? I mean, maybe. I think it's a definite possibility if he's still in good health. I think it's entirely possible that he could do this, and he might want to do this. I wouldn't put it past him. Like I said before, I don't think it's a good idea, but I do think it's something that could legitimately happen. And one of the big, gigantic talking points, if it does occur, and again, I don't think it's a good idea, but if he does try to do this, one of the big talking points is going to be, nope, this is illegal. This is illegal. It's unconstitutional. There's no way that you can do this, when that isn't really the case. So instead of treating this like some sort of wild conspiracy theory or like something that could only happen if Donald Trump were a dictator, I think we should, on the right especially, have the conversation as though this is actually an option, and just say whether we think it should occur or not, rather than pretend like, oh no, this can't happen. See, because for the longest time, that's how I thought about it. I thought of it like, well, it's illegal, right? I mean, I guess he could try to do it, but it would be illegal. It's clearly unconstitutional. I never actually went to the text itself and looked at the 22nd Amendment until recently and saw, oh, wait a minute, no, there is a way that he could do this legally. And so it just seemed to me like it wasn't even really an option, but it is an option. So if it is an option, I think we should probably, on the right, start having the conversation of whether we want Donald Trump to be president for a third term, because it is a very real possibility. Okay. Short episode. We don't need to say any more than that. There's a lot here to think about. I know a lot of you are going to watch this video and think that, well, this is stupid. There's no reason to have this conversation. Others are going to be terrified that this is a possibility. Some are going to watch this and think this is the greatest news I've ever heard in my life. It sounds like Donald Trump could actually be a third term for Donald Trump. But regardless of how you take this video, I want you to leave a comment. Do you think that Donald Trump should be president for a third term? Do you buy my arguments? Do you think my arguments? I think my arguments are ironclad, but do you believe it? Do you think I'm right? That's question number 2. Do you want him to be president for a third term? That's question number 3. Question number 1. And question number 3 is, do you think that America would ever accept this? Or do you just not care? Like, maybe you want him to be president, but you just don't think that America would accept it, or maybe you don't care that they would accept it. I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on all of those things. Please leave a comment, and I go through the comments. I read them all. I'm excited to hear what you think about this. I think it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting intellectual exercise, whether it happens or not. But anyway, share the video, share it with your friends and family members. Maybe there's just someone in your life who really hates Donald Trump and you want to make him mad. Send them the video. You know, it'll make your day a little bit brighter, I suppose. Make his day a little less bright. That's just a joke. Okay. That's it for this episode. Until next time, my name is Justin Haskins. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, and don't forget to stay free.